My name is Luis Alvarez. I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. My proposition is California should eliminate the moratorium order on the death penalty. The moratorium is a freeze on any executions put in place by our current governor of California. My first contention is blame, prosecution process and appeals prolong unnecessary elapsed time for execution. My first claim is 20 years should not be allowed from sentencing to execution to take place. According to the United States Department of Justice, the average elapsed time from sentencing to execution went from 3 months in 1977 to 20 years in 2017. Research shows that the execution can be carried out in 3 months after sentencing if no appeals arise. According to the data, elapsed time was 3 months in 1977. It has taken a dramatic turn in increasing to 20 years in 2017. Also, the data shows that California has the most inmates sentenced to death row, with over 700. That more than doubles the closest state in Florida with 349. My next data point, according to the Death Penalty Information Center, since 1976, there has only been 13 executions carried out in California. Prior to 1976, there were 725 executions. This data tells us that the current process that is in place has increased the longevity of death row. The time that it takes from sentencing to execution has elongated the process due to appeals. The average time takes has dramatically increased in the last 45 years. My next intention is cure. Establishing a new protocol in sentencing and execution will allow the death penalty to be more prompt. Faster prosecution and shortened appeals process will in turn reduce costs, deter crime, and console the victims' families. According to Michael Summers and Paul Rubin and others that hold PhDs and work at universities, they did research to support that it actually does deter crime. Their research indicates that the death penalty does, in fact, deter crime. It shows that the years that the executions increased, the murders decreased in that year. Studies also show that for every execution that was executed, there'd be 76 fewer murders that year. My next data point is basically the appeals process. The number of appeals that someone gets that someone on death row is able to file is at least 5. According to safecalifornia.org, the death penalty appeals process is complicated. The accused has a trial which has 2 phases, a guilty phase and a sentencing phase. After being convicted and sentenced to death, they automatically receive an automatic appeal which goes to the Supreme Court. Once that appeal has been affirmed, they can file other state and federal appeals, followed by writ and certiorari and habeas corpus appeals. So that's 2 other appeals they can get besides 3 other appeals they can get besides their automatic appeal just from getting sentenced to death. That process is being executed. The process of being executed can take up to 20 years because of all those appeals, due to the number of appeals being filed by the accused. Shortening this process will bring closure to families, reduce costs, and deter crime. Our current process of implementing death penalty is not executing inmates in a prompt manner, resulting in decades of dead time. The solution is to impose a shortened appeals process in order to really practice the death penalty. Doing so will serve justice to the families, deter new crime, and reduce costs in housing death row inmates for decades at a time. My research has proven that execution process is broken and not in line with serving justice. Removing the moratorium order will allow to reestablishing the death penalty. In addition, there needs to be a shortened process in executing the death penalty, allowing to serve its purpose. Sorry. Thank you.